Hey everyone, it's Ben Anderson with Run Networks. With the interesting time that we're in, we've had a large portion of the workforce working from home versus in the office. And that's changed the dynamics of things quite a bit. So today I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things to make sure you have in place to make sure that you're working from home the most efficiently. So we're going to talk about home and the hardware that goes home as well as the office, because there is a little bit of that in play here as well. And I'll explain further in a moment. So the first thing that I want to talk about is home internet speed. This is becoming one of the most important things right now, since we have more people working from home, we have children taking school from home, all sorts of stuff is going on. The demand for internet is higher, and the supply, unless you've changed your plan lately, is the same. So how much internet speed do you really need? Well, a good rule of thumb is streaming devices and streaming applications take about 5 to 10 megabits per second per device. So if we have 4 people in the house and they're all using Zoom, YouTube, Amazon Video, Microsoft Teams, those sorts of applications, we're going to want to make sure that we have enough bandwidth for the whole family so that things aren't slowing down, audio isn't cutting out, and those sorts of things. So a good rule of thumb, just to make it simple, is have between 10 and 15 megabits per second per person in the house. Well, how do I know what I have? It's a good question. On your internet service provider bill, there's generally an internet section, and you're looking for something like 50 Mbps times 5 Mbps. Mbps is megabits per second, which is the transfer rate, and generally the bigger number, like 50, is your download speed, and the smaller number is your upload speed. So when we're talking about bandwidth, we're going to be referring to just the download speed for the most part. So if you have a plan and you see on your bill you're paying for 50 megabits per second and you have 4 people in the house, well, 4 times 10 is 40, so you have a little wiggle room there. So you should be good to go. If you look at your bill and you have a 25 by 5 plan and you have 4 people in the house, we may want to kick up internet just a little bit to make sure that we have enough to go around and make sure no one is having their work impacted. The second thing that you want to take into consideration when working from home is, can your hardware keep up with it? Am I getting the speed that I am paying for? A good way to kind of check that is by going to Google on any internet device and running an internet speed test. You can just type in internet speed test and Google has an integrated one there for you. You should get pretty close to what you're paying for. So if you do an internet speed test and you get 46 to 48 megabits per second and on your bill it says 50, you're probably good to go. If you're paying for 50 and you see 20, 25, 30, 35, something's not right there. There's a lot of variables that play into what actual internet speed you're getting, so that's why you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it should be pretty close to what you're actually paying for on your bill. Now, if I'm not getting the internet speed I'm paying for, but I'm paying for it and I see it on my bill, one of the main culprits is going to be the old hardware. This is an older Linksys router. It looks fairly new, looks newer style, right? It's about 7 years old. Looks can be deceiving when it comes to network equipment. And even some of the new routers have an awful funky look to them as well. Who knows? An easy way to check how old the device is by grabbing the serial number off the back or bottom of it and going to the respective manufacturer's website and typing in the serial number. It'll generally tell you the production date, the end of warranty date, and you can get a good idea how old your hardware is. Routers and modems should be replaced approximately every 5 years, if not sooner, kind of depending on your situation, but generally 5 years or sooner. That same thing goes with your modem. The modem should be right next to your router, or it might even be the same actual device. Some of them are 2-in-1. So those both should be about 5 years old or newer. If you identify that your hardware is newer and you're not getting the internet speed you pay for, like I mentioned, there's a lot of variables that can go into it. I would recommend calling your IT company and having them troubleshoot it before going to your internet service provider. That way you can eliminate anything that may be causing the issue outside of truly the internet service provider not giving you what you're paying for. The last thing with home connections is you have to remember, if you're using a VPN connects you to your office's network. It's going to slow down your traffic pretty substantially. So when you're using a VPN, the important thing is you have to make sure your office infrastructure is set up to handle it. And that's where we get into the office piece of making sure you're ready to work remotely. So for the office, it's going to be very similar to home. Do we have the right bandwidth? A rule of thumb is between 5 and 10 megabits per second per employee connecting over VPN. So if you're paying for a 50 by 5 plan, for example, and you have 10 employees logging in with VPN, they're going to be at 5 megabits per second. That may not be super fast, but it'll get to the job done. With internet, it truly is the more the merrier. You will never go wrong getting more internet than you need for the minimum bandwidth requirements. So if you have 10 employees connecting to your network, we allocate 5 megabits per second per person. It'll be a slow connection, but it'll work. So you really want to make sure your office has good internet if your employees are using VPN connections. This is even more true if you're using CAD files, you're doing creative work, or using large media files. You're going to want to probably have a little quicker internet connection at the office to make sure those files are downloading as quickly as possible to your employees. The next thing, very similar to your home, is once again, your network infrastructure. What does your hardware look like? You want to make sure that your firewall, routers, those sorts of things, including your modem, are 5 years or newer. In business, 5 years is a pretty decent amount of time, and hardware tends to struggle after that period to keep up with the new standards. If you have a firewall that's over 5 years old, let Run Networks know, and we'll let you know what a new one looks like and get it in place for you. If you aren't sure, let us know, and we can work with you to find out how old the firewall is and make sure you have the right thing for your business. Now, the second piece of hardware with businesses is also your servers and other items that people are going to be connecting to, whether it be workstations, remote desktop servers, or just a true file server. Generally, the cost-effective servers come with 7,200 RPM drives. 7,200 RPMs is not that fast for a server, and especially when you have multiple people connecting to it simultaneously. We recommend 15K or SSD drives in a server to make sure there's very, very little latency with loading and downloading files from servers. If your server is also over 5 years old, there's a good chance the technology in there cannot keep up with the rest of your business. You want to make sure you're replacing your server about every 5 years, if not sooner, to keep up with the times and make sure your employees are staying efficient. Now, if we have our bandwidth in place, if we have our network infrastructure in place, and we also have the server and other hardware that's sufficient for what we're doing, you're not going to have a whole lot of inefficiency with working from home. So to recap, working from home and working from the office are very different, but the requirements needed to work from home are very similar between your house and the office. You want to make sure you have enough internet bandwidth, you want to make sure that the hardware is current, and you want to make sure that the hardware can push through the traffic you're trying to utilize. Run Networks is a managed IT provider in Omaha, Nebraska, and we help small businesses get their network up and running and efficient. If you have any questions, concerns, or if there's anything that we can do to point you in the right direction, don't hesitate to reach out. Once again, my name is Ben Anderson with Run Networks. Stay safe, and thanks for your time.